Good evening, my friends. This is Angie Stewart from My Inner Light here in Kardec Radio again. I'm very excited to be here again to continue our studies. Last week and the week before, I was in New York City. I was working and I also went to see my lovely in-laws and to attend the wedding of my niece, my husband's niece. So unfortunately, I had no way to get connected to continue our study, so I missed it. But tonight we are here and we will start all over again. Of course, not from the beginning, from where we stopped. So if you are new, we studied this book, Among Brothers of Other Lands, and we stopped in chapter 5. Chapter 5 is a very long chapter. It's actually an interview with the spirit William James. So there are many questions. And last time we studied, we only were able to comment until question number 7. So tonight we will start on question 8. So we will do it for 40 minutes and then we are going to go to the Gospel according to Spiritism. And tonight we are going to read about the prior causes of afflictions. Very interesting and very important to all of us to understand. Is our sufferings of nowadays connected to our past? Are they all connected to our past? Some connected or they are not connected? We are going to talk about all of this. So if you are new and you would like, please put a water bottle next to you and the spirits, the enlightened spirits will bless your water and it will be your medication for the week. And when the water is finishing, you don't leave it to finish. When it's finishing, then you replenish with more water and you do a prayer and it will be another week with a medication for you. So let's right now just do our initial prayer while our friends are connecting. Then we can start our studies of the night. Okay? Almighty God, beloved Master Jesus, thank you very much for the blessings that we are receiving at this moment. Thank you very much for the presence of the enlightened spirits here with us, inspiring us. Not just me, but every single person who are listening or will be listening to this study. Please, Master, help most of all, help us to put in practice what we will be learning and help us little by little better ourselves. Thank you so much, so be it. So my friends, very good to be here. Let me say hello to the ones that I already arrived. Hello, Betsy Sharafat, is it correct? Very good, welcome. Carolina Correia, hello Carol, how are you? Very good to have you here. Matthew Mills, hi Matthew, how are you doing? Nice to have you here again. Chiesa Sérgio Augusto, hello, welcome. Francisco Xavier from Uberlândia, Minas Gerais. Hello, my friends from Minas Gerais. This is so exciting. Carla Marques, my friend. Hello. So guys, this is a blessing to have all of you again, and we will continue our study. Just before I start, I want to remind you, if you know anyone who lives in Miami and would like to study Spiritism in the park, I coordinated the study of the Spirit's book and the Gospel in a beautiful park in the area of Coconut Grove. And the park is called Kennedy Park. We study Spiritism every last Sunday of the month at 5 p.m. So if you know anyone that would like to join us from 5 to 6:30 in this beautiful park in the area of Coconut Grove, send me a message, send me WhatsApp if you have my number, or on Facebook, and I will give all the information. But I always post the information in our page in My Inner Light too. So just before we start, hello Saul, I'm glad you arrived. So before we start, I want to introduce to you our new acquaintance, our new family members. Look, this is Casper. This is Casper, our lovely, sweet ghost. He was adopted a little bit over a month ago, and he's a sweetheart with me, as you can see. But he's very jealous of anyone that comes to the house. So, Casper will be with us during the study. So, let's go. We already read the beginning of chapter 5, but I just want to remind you what it is about. So the title is 20 Subjects with William James. So in this specific situation, Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira, the two mediums, they were in New York City. They were visiting a spiritist center in New York when they got an interview by the spirit of André Luiz to the spirit of William James. So this is very interesting. So the mediums were in the mediumistic meeting, and they were really very special mediums. They had lots of qualities and, as we can say, like powers. It's not powers because every medium has a different level of mediumship. But we know that Chico Xavier, for example, his mediumship was like top level. It was so strong, so powerful, that sometimes he had difficulties to understand if the person that was talking to him was incarnated or discarnated, because it was so strong, his view. So just so you understand the level of mediumship. I have mediumship, but it's nothing compared to Chico Xavier mediumship. So just a reminder also, I will read this little beginning here. Dr. William James, the spirit that André Luiz spirit was interviewing, he was an eminent American physician, psychologist, and philosopher who departed in 1910. So this is just for you to connect the answers of this eminent man, American man, giving to the spirit of André Luiz, and then Chico Xavier psychographing these messages. Okay, so this is just for us to remember. So the last time we stopped in question 7. So let's start question 8. Can you expand your definition of spiritist knowledge? They asked. The spiritist knowledge is the orientation for deep and essential life of the being. Obviously, evolution is the law for every creature, but Spiritism operates on the conscious level by dictating rules of behavior that successfully trace a straight path for the soul. In this way, the mazes of illusion that correspond to suffering are avoided. So, very interesting way of answering. And we understand this. We understand that when we start studying Spiritism, we start understanding that the laws of cause and effect are very connected to our lives of nowadays, also to our sufferings or to our happiness, or how we perceive what is really a suffering or what is a pain, what is a happiness or what is a momentary happiness. So this is for us to understand that the Spiritism shows you the way you live, the way you behave is the way that you will feel, the way that you will be living life. So when we are always angry, mad, when we are behaving in a negative way, it seems that everything negative happens to us. It's very painful. The moment that we shift, the moment that something negative happened, but we had some kind of perspective different, or we had a moment that we stopped and we said, listen, let me calm down because this is happening to me, but lots of other things, other bad things are also happening to others. So the way I live is the way that I project. So if I live complaining of everything, imagine the type of energy that you are transmitting. If you are, everything happens to you, you are always negative, you are always complaining, you are always cursing. So the level of energy around you and the level of spirit surrounding you are also that type, are negative ones. So what he's talking here is more or less that our consciousness makes us to avoid problems also. So because of the law of cause and effect in spiritism, we know that whatever we do of negative, something negative we will attract. So we will try to do less negative things, so we will attract less negative things for ourselves. And we learn in Spiritism that when you do good, you receive good. So we know that the charity is so important. So that's when, in the beginning, people start behaving in this way because of their guilty conscience. So they're like, oh, I have to do some kind of charity because I want to have some points up there. Or, oh, I'm not going to curse because when I curse, I attract negative spirits. It's okay. It's fine. This is the beginning. In the beginning, we kind of do things in an automatician way, in an automatic way. But when we start evolving, we start doing it from our hearts, really. And some people, they start doing this from the beginning, from their hearts. There are people that are more elevated, people that are like, they have this within them already. They were born with these good characteristics. But the others, they have to learn. And Spiritism is very good for us because it teaches us how important it is. There are many Spiritist speakers that mention that a lot of people come to them and say, listen, I don't want to continue being a spiritist because it's very difficult. It makes me feel guilty all the time because whenever I do something negative, immediately my head starts saying, ooh, this is really bad. Imagine what's going to happen to you. It's funny, but it's okay. This is our conscious really waking up, telling us, ooh, don't do that. This is not good. Another way for us would be like, would you like this to happen to you? Whatever you are doing, would you like this to happen to you? If you like, then it's good. Then do it. But if you think and you're like, no, I wouldn't like this to happen to me. So think about and don't do it. So this is the connection. This is what he's explaining. And please feel free to ask questions, to make comments, and I will try to keep up with my list here and read whatever you guys say, okay? Hi, Saul, glad to be here. Glad to have you here. Very, very good. Yes, his name is Casper. Casper, from the cartoon in Brazil was Gasparzinho, but in English is Casper, the good ghost. Betsy Sharafat, so cute. Thank you. He's cute, but he barks a lot to strangers. Not easy. So Jim MacArthur, hello, Jim here, a spiritualist but not a medium. Hello, Jim, it's great to have you here. Yes, we are all mediums, but there are many different levels of mediumship. So, for example, you are saying you are not a medium. So it must be that your mediumship is not really fully developed. Is not ostensive mediumship. That's what we say. But we say we are all mediums because we all have little things that make us mediums. For example, imagine you just had an idea to call someone and you just like, oh, from nowhere, you're like, my God, I should call this person. And you go call the person. And then the person, oh my God, I was here thinking about you. So a lot of people are going to say, oh, this was her mental transmission or telepathy. Yes, it could be also. But it also could be that her guardian angel came to you and say, hey, call your friend. She would like to talk to you. Yes, it could be. And this is what we call mediumship. But of course, we all have that. When we go to sleep, we all dream, but not everybody remembers all the time. But sometimes the dreams are so strong that as soon as we wake up, we remember. But if we don't write down, at that moment when it's in the afternoon, you already have no idea what did you dream about. That's why we say we are all mediums. But that's a very big difference between this little type of mediumship and what Chico Xavier was, that he was really a ostensive medium that could see, talk, touch, and make lots of special phenomena that most of us cannot do it. So that's what I wanted to mean about it. So Matthew Williams, evolution, law of progress. Yes, Matthew, that's what's happening to all of us. We are all evolving. We are all getting better. This is really important for us. Question 9. Do you believe that Spiritism can play a decisive role in the conduction of will? Answer: in a perfect way, without freely fulfilling the requirements of the evolution principles represented by life's duty. The reincarnation of the spirit is merely a repetitive process in which the spirit profits poorly throughout the millennia. And we understand that every time we reincarnate, we progress. Every time we reincarnate, we progress. We never digress. So we never go backwards. So people say, oh, but it's not possible. There are spirits doing horrible things. How is that possible? So what happened is that that spirit, he was worse in the past. He was worse than that. So if you see a person who committed horrible crimes, who did something that it's unthinkable, did this person digress? No, he progressed. So how would he progress doing something so horrible? Well, he progressed because maybe in the past he did something even worse than that. Or he never did something like this, but he was never exposed to that type of behavior or to that type of situation. So it doesn't mean they digressed. They always had this negative behavior inside of them, but they never had the opportunity to put it in practice. So that's what we are saying, that they did not digress. They were worse than they are now. So for all of us that understand doing something good is much better for us than returning the evil, this is what we really want to accomplish. We want to be better every day. And if someone does something really bad to us, progressing means that we will control ourselves and we will not return. Because if we return the evil we received, we are not progressing. We are still in the same state. We are still bad as they are bad. And we don't want this. So in the past, people used to think that the strong people are the ones who really fight and kill, or they fight and they win the battle. But the real strong ones are the ones who are able to control themselves and not return the evil. If you think about, that really requires strength, because it's not easy. If someone is provoking you, if someone is doing something really horrible, it's very difficult not to return. So the strong ones are the ones that are able to not return the evil. So let's go. Question number 10. Well, I marked the questions here. It's not that the questions have numbers, but I marked the questions here. Teresa Castro, hello Teresa, very nice seeing you here, very good. Marilda Veiga, hello Marilda, welcome, welcome. So we are on page 25 of the book Among Brothers of Other Lands. So question 10, what can you tell us about mediumship? Mediumship is wrongly appreciated or wrongly understood today on Earth. One day it will play an important role in people's lives, an access gate of the embodied personality to the superior spheres. So what do you want to understand about, or what do you understand now? What do you understand about this an access gate? So an access gate is that the mediumship is this possibility to connect to the spirits who are in the other side. We have to understand we are all spirits, but I am incarnated in a physical body. When I die, I will be a spirit, but I will be discarnated. So I will not have my physical body. And if someone is a medium, then he or she will be able to see me and to talk to me. So in the future, when mediumship is fully understood, mediumship is not going to be this thing that nowadays a lot of people think something evil. To talk to spirits is evil. It's not evil. It's not evil, but unfortunately what happened nowadays is because of our different levels of understanding. Some people think mediumship is really something horrible, something mysterious, something mystic, or very bad people can do it, or angels, people who are really good can do it. And in reality, it's not true. Mediumship is from the human being. You can be from any religion, from any type of society, from any color, from any country. And you, if you have ostensive mediumship, you will have it. And it's very important for you to learn how to deal with it, to understand how to deal with it. A lot of people who have ostensive mediumship and they do not learn, they end up in psychiatric hospitals because people do not understand them. And if they are not controlled, if they cannot control this mediumship, they can start getting really perturbed. And then what happens? People bring them to a doctor. Most of the doctors do not understand of mediumship. They immediately think the person is schizophrenic. And they immediately will give some kind of medication to this person. So the medication, many different types of medication, but most of the medications will calm down the person. But calming down the person means that it will slow a little bit their reflexes, But it doesn't mean the person will stop being a medium. The person will continue being a medium, but the person might not be able to describe it, might be a little dizzy. The own person is going to start thinking she is daydreaming. But in the future, it's going to be different. It's already different from the past, because Moses, if you're able to study the Old Testament, you see that Moses forbade dealing with mediumship. But why? A lot of religions who follow strictly the Bible, and when they say it's Moses forbade to deal with mediumship, they say this is from evil. That's why Moses forbade it, and it's not true. Moses forbade it because it had become almost like some kind of a market. It was like a supermarket. You wanted to decide which boyfriend you're going to marry. You went to a psychic. In the time of Moses, they were called pitonisas. They had many different names, oracles. They were not called mediums. So people, instead of using their own mind, instead of praying to get inspiration, they just paid a oracle, a pitonisa, or whatever, how it was called, and they asked for inspiration to what they should do. So Moses forbade it because it was being misused, used badly, and it was being commonly used. And mediumship is not to be like this. The spirits, we shouldn't be calling the spirits to tell us silly things. If you study Spiritism, you know Kardec was very serious, and his questions were very serious too. That's why we study his questions. They were questions that would help us through our lives, not through that moment. So that's why is this misunderstanding. But as the Spirit said, one day it will be well understood, and this will not happen. So let's continue. Number 11. Do you believe a medium should receive adequate instructions? And then he answered, we protect the mustard to maintain its normal production. How to improve mediumship and keep it worthy without the help of education? So it is true. If you want something to be good, you have to protect it. You have to take care of it. If you want a study to be good, you have to study. If you're going to do some kind of presentation in anything, you have to study. So you will know what you will talk about. The same thing is mediumship. If you have mediumship, you should study the medium's book and so many other books in Spiritism that specifically deal with mediumship, with obsession, with mediumistic meetings, that you can learn about it. One thing is to be an educated medium. Another thing is just to be a medium. So an educated medium, he knows how to control himself, herself. He knows how to behave. He even learned how to identify the level of energy that's approaching to him, the level of a spirit that's coming, if it's a good spirit or if it's a spirit that's going to pretend to be good. So it's very important. So the mediums, they should all do it. And even if you are not a medium yet, because we don't know, sometimes mediumship come late in life. Some people are born with it, and others, the mediumship develops later on. It's always good to understand. So if you could, study the medium's book. It's an excellent book that have key questions for us to understand how to behave and what to do to protect us first. Before anything, protection is very important. So question number 12. So 9:30, we still have some time. That's good, because today I really want to study the gospel. It's super important. So Matthew said, they think they are talking to demons and quote the Bible to try to justify it. Yes, it is true. But they seemingly ignore that there is a scripture in the New Testament that tells you to test the spirits. Exactly, Matthew. Jesus said that. Exactly. So that's exactly what I said. The people who follow the Old Testament, letter by letter, sentence by sentence, they will not be able to understand it because their mind is still very narrow to that type of analogy. But one day will come that they will start opening up their minds and understanding the real meaning of things. But you know, we cannot impose anything on anyone. It would be really negative too if we start imposing our knowledge. First of all, because they wouldn't believe, they wouldn't accept it. And other is because Spiritism really is a philosophy of life that wants to teach people through love, not through any kind of pain or negativity or imposition. Chico Xavier never, ever, ever tried to convert anyone to Spiritism. And he was loved by people of many religions because Chico Xavier did a lot of charity. He was very poor, very humble, but he was always donating everything he received. Everything. There is a story of a man that was super, super happy to receive a letter. It was a man and his wife. They received a letter from their deceased son, and they were so happy with it, so extremely happy, because the letter, the son was saying, I leave, and gave lots of details of their family members who were here incarnated, and also the ones who received him in the spiritual realm, especially the mother's mother, meaning the grandmother by the side of the mother. And the details were so amazing. The family got so excited. They discovered Chico Xavier had no car, and they had to go to so many different locations. He had lots of health issues. They bought a brand new car and they gave to Chico. But the Chico, as being Chico, he never kept anything. So he always gave whatever someone gave to him, he always gave to somebody else. And in this case, he gave to a spirit center to raise funds, to construct a place. So he was always like this. What a elevated spirit. And the Soul Souza says, Angela, if the person is a medium and not spiritist, she can do to understand what's going on, and how can they improve the mediumship if they have other religion? Well, so we understand that the mediumship is everywhere, and unfortunately there are many religions, many beliefs who are extremely against it. So they will not allow this to happen. They will bring this person to a doctor, they will bring this person to a hospital, they will try to do something to help because they don't understand. But we also understand that nothing happens by a chance. So if someone is born with ostensive mediumship in a religion that does not accept it, or in a family that does not accept it, something will happen to help this person. I give you my example. My example is not that radical because my family, they were not radicals against it, and they loved me deeply. But it was already a little bit difficult. I am a medium since I was born. I always saw spirits. I always told my mother, my father, but they used to say it was my imaginary friend. And with the time, I even told the own spirits that it was really my imaginary friend. And when I got older, when I got married and I was moving here, that's when my mediumship got super ultra strong. And then I told my mother, and then immediately she didn't understand well about it. And she said, oh my God, we need to find you a doctor. We need to find a psychiatrist. And then I told her, Mom, I'm not crazy. I'm really seeing spirits. And she's like, oh my God, that's what all the crazy people say. So if my own mother said that, imagine a family that have lots of issues against it. But we understand we are never abandoned. So in my case, my mother couldn't understand. My father couldn't even talk about it. And I was just like, I had no idea what to do. But then with the following days, not even weeks, the following days, I went to visit a family. They were Catholics. And as soon as I arrived, the first thing the family said was, "How is your mediumship?" And I was in shock. But this is just for you to understand that the spirits, they find ways to help us when we need or when we have merit. So in this way, when I met this woman who used to be Catholic and she had just become Spiritist, she told me what was mediumship, why she knew I had mediumship, and this helped me so much because immediately she brought me, I was desperate, I asked for help. She brought me to a Spiritist center. I bought so many books. I started studying, and that's how I started my process of knowledge of Spiritism and mediumship. So if it happened to me, it happens to a lot of people. So we always have to think that nothing happens by a chance. And if it happens to someone that's very radical, maybe they had to go through this issue. But mediumship is always a blessing. So somehow this person will be helped. So Patrick, hello Patrick. Very good to have you here. What a nice surprise. I want to invite you to do one of these studies with me. I already told you that, but life is so crazy busy that I end up not coordinating with you, but let's coordinate. Let's really coordinate because it would be really interactive, would be exciting. So let's continue. So number 12. Let's do it for a little more, just let's do until 13 so we can do the gospel. Number 12. Can more advanced spirits easily overcome the deficiencies of mediumship? Yes. Discarnate benefactors can carry out constructive works of the highest standards in the world, but they require elements of interpretation. An orchestra could hardly make music without the help of instruments. So more advanced spirits, they can have a better mediumship, they can have a better connection because they are already more advanced in this sense. They understand it better, they have more experience. So if you have more experience in anything, it's better. When you see the little kids who are so super talented playing instruments or doing mathematical equations or whatever, you have to understand these little kids, it's not the first time they're doing it. So in their past lives, they were amazing musicians, amazing mathematicians. And when they return to this life, this was so fresh in their minds, they can pick it up quickly without ever studying in this incarnation. Isn't that interesting? So last question for the day, number 13. Does a spirit, even belonging to the highest hierarchy, depend on mediumship to express itself on the physical plane? Yeah. Until science establishes a free and generalized interchange between incarnate and discarnate intelligences, the spirit dwelling in the beyond will depend on the medium to communicate with the individuals, as the soul plunging into the physical sphere requires a mother. So what he's explaining that in the spiritual realm, to connect with the spirits from the spiritual realm, to us incarnated, you need a link. You need this link in between. So you need a medium. Just if you are medium yourself. So if you're medium yourself, you don't need anyone else because you are actually the connection. But if you are not, you need it. It's something important. It's something necessary to this to this period that we are living. And he gives the example. So the spirits to come back to earth needs a mother. There is no possibility to a spirit to reincarnate without being in the physical body of a woman. So very interesting questions and very beautiful answers. So let's stop here today, April 25th. And let's go to the gospel. Today, our subject is very, very interesting. Prior causes of afflictions. So, as I mentioned before, is everything that happens to us connected to the past or not? Let's see. I hope my internet is good. I see something blinking here. I hope you guys are listening. I changed totally the machines. We bought a new router, more powerful. So I hope you guys can listen. So let's go to the gospel. And we are in chapter 5, number 6. I will read a little bit the beginning because it's very interesting. But today we are going to do the whole number 6 until number 10. So I can summarize it. So let's read number 6. However, if there are misfortunes in this life of which humans are the primary cause, there are others which, at least in appearance, are completely foreign to them and which seem to touch them fatalistically. Such is, for example, the loss of a loved ones and the family breadwinners. Such are, furthermore, the accidents that no foresight can have prevented, the reversals of fortune that frustrates all measures of prudence, natural disasters and congenital infirmities, especially those that take from their unfortunate victims the means of earning their livelihood through labor, such as physical disabilities and mental impairment. Those who are born into such conditions have obviously done nothing in their present life to deserve, without compensation, such as sad fate, which they could not avoid, which they are powerless to change by themselves, and which puts them at the mercy of a public commiseration. Why then are there such unfortunate beings, while right beside them, under the same roof and in the same family, there are others who have been favored in every way? So this is the question. Why there are some people who are luckier than others? Why some people suffer more than others? This is something that we have to understand very well. As I always say, there are no coincidences. Every single thing that happens, it had a meaning. It was planned. It had to happen. So it's talking here about the fatalistic things. Yes, it can be fatalistic, but if you perished in that fatalistic, if you perished in that situation, for example, if earthquake happened and your building collapsed and you died, it's not bad luck that you were in the building and you died. And then you say, oh, but if this person was not in the building, this person would survive. Well, if it was meant to that person to survive, that person would get an inspiration to, before the building collapsed, to get out of it. So what we understand in Spiritism is that there is a time for us to reincarnate, but there is also a time for us to go back to the spiritual realm. But the difference is that it's not a set date, like people like to think, oh, so you were born on the 1st of whatever, and you will die on the 10th of whatever date and year. It's not exactly like that. It's a period of time. The Spirit says that there is like a period of 10 years, for example. 10 years for us is a lot, but to the spirits, it's not. So there is a period of time that you will die because you need your time, your fluidic energy is expiring, and it's time for you to go back to the spiritual realm. But also we know that depending on what we are doing here, we can get merit to continue for a longer time. For example, the medium Divaldo Franco from Brazil, he is 91 years old. And we know he was supposed to die, I think like 15 years ago. But he had merit and he got an extension to continue here because he was working towards the population. He was working towards the others, helping the others. So he got this extension. And in the same way, when we are here doing something bad, the spirits can also remove us. There is a book from André Luiz that talks about a doctor who was also a medium, and he was doing really bad things. He was misusing his mediumship. He was betraying his wife. He was doing horrible things. And there were so many bad things that the spirits, his spiritual protector and many other spirits, get together to decide what to do with him. And they say, he is compromising himself so much that will be better for him to be removed now than to continue living. So that's what they do. They make him to have a heart attack, and he dies before his time period, because he was actually making so many bad things that was going to be very, very bad for his own spiritual life. So this is for us to understand that nothing happens by a chance. Our decisions, many times, they are inspired in a way for us to take a decision. So if I am supposed to die, I will be inspired to stay in a situation that will provoke that. And if by whatever reason I did not die, I left the building, for example, but it is my time to die in the period of time that could be like from few years after that, something will happen. I will also perish. So this is for us to understand there are no coincidences. And then we continue. So why there are some people that are so lucky and others that are unlucky? We know luck does not exist. So it is very much connected to our own actions, to our own behaviors from the past. So he continues here explaining. He goes on talking. Let me read this piece here. That he's talking about the children who die at a young age. So finally, what can be said at those children who die at a very young age and who knew of life only suffering? There are problems that no philosophy has yet been able to resolve, anomalies that no religion has been able to justify, and which would be negation of God's goodness, justice, and providence, according to hypothesis that the soul is created at the same time as the body, and that its fate is irrevocable, set after a stay of but a few instances upon earth. So this is for us to understand that this young child, the physical body is young, but the spirit is old. That spirit had many, many lives. So that spirit maybe is receiving the consequences of his acts from a previous life. So when you say, oh, this young child is so innocent, yes, in a vision that there is only one body and one life, yes, because the poor child haven't done anything negative to deserve a suffering. But when you understand the spirit is eternal, and sometimes we committed very bad mistakes in our previous lives, then you understand, oh, so this is a consequence of something bad we did a long, long time ago. So he continues, nevertheless, in virtue of the axiom that every effect has a cause, these miseries are effects that must have a cause. And if one believes in a just God, then that cause must also be just. So when we believe in God, we understand that whatever I'm going through, it's because I need it. It's not because I deserve to suffer. People say, oh, you spiritists, you believe that you deserve to suffer. No, it's not that we believe in that, but we believe that whatever I'm going through is because I need to go through that to learn, to improve. And why? Many times in our previous lives, if we are still suffering and struggling to understand in this life, to forgive in this life, to be able to stop gossiping too much, to be able to control ourselves in our eating habits, so many things. Imagine how we were in the past. And as always, as I always say, we are a collection of all our previous lives. So whatever we are going through now is because are things that we did not understand yet, or there are things that we made other people to suffer, and we are going through the same, so we can understand through our own suffering what we might have done to others in the past. So this is important for us, very important for us to understand. So the sentence here, if we have not done evil in this life, then we did it in another. This is an alternative that is impossible to escape, of whose logic shows on what side the justice of God lies. So we understand that God is a mother and father, a loving mother and father, who always wants the best for us. If we connect to the mothers and fathers here on earth, many times the mothers and fathers, they have to reprimand the kids. They have to say, no, don't put your finger there. Don't put your finger there. You are going to hurt. And the kids, sometimes they don't understand. Oh, my mother is screaming. Oh, my mother is angry. Why? I have no idea. That's like God. God is like this. God is teaching us, is helping us. And when we have this strong faith, we are able to foresee what we can't understand it. But we understand that God is doing the best for me. And I have to go through it. And I will go through it in a positive way. And I will overcome it. And if I will overcome it in a positive way, in my next life, I might not need to go through that again. So this is very important for us to think. So one important item here is number 9. So if you can, please read all the other items, because we are not going to have time. But if you can read all the other items, you will understand more details of it. But number 9 says, one must not think, however, that every instance of suffering enduring on this world is necessarily the indication of a specific wrong. There are often simple trials chosen by the Spirit to finish its purification and to accelerate its advancement. Hence, expiation always serves as a trial, but a trial is not always an expiation. Trials or expiations, however, are always signs of relatively low order spirits. So what's the difference between trials and expiations? So you can think that the trials are the tests that you have to go through. So if in your previous life you were alcoholic and you died because of this, in your next life, you will be exposed to it to see if you were able to overcome it. So you might be born in a family that a lot of people are alcoholic, but during your previous time before you reincarnate, you were studying very hard how to overcome this vice. You were really strong on controlling yourself. But now is the time to test. It's like in school. You study something, and at the end of the period, you will do a test to check if you learn. So this is a trial. But what is an expiation? Expiation is different. Expiation is when you did something wrong against someone, and now you have to experiment that. So you have to go through the same pain to see, to feel what you did to someone, to go through that. So this is different. A trial is a test of something that you need to learn. And an expiation is something painful that you caused in someone else, and now you have to go through that. It's obligatory. You have to go through that because you imposed that on somebody else. So it's important for us to understand that not every little thing in our lives is connected to something from the past. It can be a trial that I asked for myself. I asked to go through that to check if I really learn. That's the difference. A trial, you can ask. You can voluntarily ask to go through that. An expiation, you need to go through. That's one of the main differences. So, and number 10, to finalize, we have just 2 minutes. Number 10, the first sentence says, spirits cannot aspire to perfect happiness as long as they are impure. And what means an impure spirit? Impure spirit are spirits who are still with these issues that I mentioned before. You still feel envy, you love to gossip, you cannot control your vices, you smoke, or whatever is the negativity that you still have within yourself. This means that you are impure. You are not a pure spirit yet. And in our level on earth, most of us are impure. Thank God we are not impure in every single sense, because we are evolving. We are much, much better than in the time of Jesus, over 2,000 years ago, or in the time of Moses, over 3,000 years ago. We are much, much better, but we still have lots of little things that we need to improve. So this is the message for today, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys. I hope you were able to understand. Let me read the last message here from Matthew. Nosso Lar, I saw the movie to that as well. No, Matthew, the spirit that I mentioned to you, that's a doctor, that's also a medium, was not in Nosso Lar. Nosso Lar was the first book of the collection of André Luiz, and I believe this is like the 7th of 8th book. I need to research to be able to tell you for sure which book is it, but it's all the collection of the André Luiz books are very beautiful. So if you can read the other books, it's really, really interesting. There is the last book of the collection is called oh my God, what's the name? I can't remember. Just because I wanted to tell you, I can't remember. And it's also a movie, and it is in YouTube. I don't know if there is English subtitles. I believe there are English subtitles, and I will check as soon as we finish. I will check and I will post it for you. So if you can see this book that became also a movie is really excellent. And to finalize, I just want to show my t-shirt. You see, fé. This was my friend Viviane from Brazil who sent me as a gift, and it means faith. And that's how we have to continue our days with faith that everything will be better, that tomorrow will be better than today, and that's how we will go on, always in a positive way, hoping for the better, not just for ourselves, but to everybody around us. Thank you so much, my friends, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. And if you know anyone in Miami, please let them know that we are having a study of Spiritism in Kennedy Park, in Coconut Grove, here in Miami. Thank you. Mwah! Talk to you soon. Bye bye. Thank you.